What if I told you that Toronto's housing market is teetering on a knife's edge? The city is making a move that just won't hurt the homebuyers. It could push the entire real estate market. This isn't a mistake. It's not a miscalculation. It's a calculated tax grab. And I'm about to show you the proof. We're going to break down how land transfer tax works, who really pays for the price, and what it means for anyone trying to buy or sell a home in the city. Stick around because this is the story City Hall does not want you to hear. Alright, let's get right into it. We have to talk about the Municipal Land Transfer Tax, or MLTT now. If you don't know, when you buy a property anywhere in Ontario, you pay a Provincial Land Transfer Tax. But if you have the privilege of buying in the city of Toronto, you get hammered a second time with a municipal version of the same tax. Toronto is the only city in the province with the power to do this, putting its home buyers in the unique position of seeing their tax bill effectively double before they even get the keys. The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board has done the math. For the average price home in Toronto, the MLTT alone adds over $17,000 to your upfront closing cost. That's $17,000 in cash that you have to come up with on the closing day on top of your down payment and all the other fees. For a typical buyer, the combined provincial and municipal taxes can easily top $34,000. This tax isn't new, but the city's addiction to it is getting worse. In early 2024, new higher tax rates on properties over $3 million kicked in. And as we've seen through 2025, the conversation hasn't stopped here. The city is framing all this as a luxury tax, a simple way to make the rich pay their fair share. But the real story, the one that affects you, me, everyone else, is far more dangerous. The official story from Mayor's office is that these hikes only affect a tiny percentage of the wealthiest homebuyers. It's a simple narrative that's easy to sell to everybody. It's also incredibly misleading. While the newest rate hikes are aimed at the high end, the entire MLTT system acts as a dead weight on the whole market, and it's crushing the average person's dream of owning a home. Let's go back to the numbers from the Toronto Real Estate Board. Over $17,000 added to the average home purchase. The average price for a home in Toronto is hovering around the $1.1 million mark. We're not talking about luxury mansions here. This is the new normal for a standard family home. So when the city talks about a luxury tax, they conveniently ignore the underlying tax that is already hammering the middle class. That $17,000 is a massive barrier. You can't mortgage it, and it has to be saved. For a first-time home buyer who spent many years scraping together just to get the down payment, an extra $17,000 could be a knockout punch that keeps them renting for life. And let's look at the market we're in right now. It's not the frenzy of 2021. The market is more fragile. Data from November 2025 shows that the benchmark home prices in the GTA are down almost 6% from the year before. Sales are struggling and inventory is high. Buyers are cautious and sellers are seeing a lot of competition. So here is the billion-dollar question. In a struggling market where affordability is already at a crisis point, why on earth would you make it even more expensive to buy a home? It defies all logic. It's like throwing an anchor to a drowning man. This is where it gets even more messed up. The damage from the MLTT isn't just about the upfront costs, it's about how it seizes up the entire housing ladder. Toronto Real Estate Board has been warning the city about this for years, calling it a mobility trap, and it's something everyone needs to understand. Here's how it works. Imagine a family in a 3-bedroom home. They have another kid and need to upgrade to a 4-bedroom. But then they look at the numbers. They realize that to sell their home, and buy a new one, they'll get slapped with a massive land transfer tax bill, tens and thousands of dollars gone, just for the privilege of moving. Forced with that cost, what do? A lot of them, they decide it's not worth it to change anymore. They stay put. They renovate the basement instead of moving. That one decision, multiplied by thousands of homeowners, create a devastating ripple effect. When these move-up buyers are discouraged from selling, the supply of mid-price family homes, the exact homes that first-time buyers are desperate for, dries up. The city's tax policy, supposedly aimed at luxury properties, end up choking off the market and making the affordability crisis worse for everyone at the entry level. It doesn't just punish the person paying the tax, it punishes the entire real estate system. So why is the city doing this? The official line is that these MLTT hikes are a progressive way to fund essential services like the TTC or housing affordability projects. Mayor Olivia Chow says she's just asking the wealthiest to chip in. On the surface, who can argue with that? But when you peel back the layers, the argument completely falls apart. First, as we've already seen, the idea that this is only hurting the rich is a fantasy. The tax structure burdens average buyers far more than it helps them. Second, we all know when we tax the rich will get the money from the middle class. That's how they became rich. So you end up paying double. And third, TRREB has argued for years that there's no evidence previous MLTT hikes did anything to improve the housing affordability. In fact, they argue that the data suggests the complete opposite. It's a desperate cash grab, plain and simple. The city has a budget problem, and it's using the housing market as its personal ATM. It's politically easier to villainize a small group of luxury buyers than to have an honest conversation about the city finances. But this tax revenue depends entirely on how many homes are sold. In a cooling market, basing your city's budget is like going gambling on a roulette wheel. This isn't a hopeless situation. There are smarter ways to handle this. Experts, including Toronto Real Estate Board, have been shouting the solution from the rooftop for many years. Instead of hiking the taxes, the city should be increasing the MLTT rebate for the first-time home buyers. Right now, the rebate is capped at a pathetic $4,475. That only covers the full MLTT on a home worth up to $400,000. A $400,000 property in the Toronto city is basically a ghost. It doesn't exist. Toronto Real Estate Board has pointed out that for the rebate to cover the taxes on a more realistic starter home, say around $750,000, it would need to be more increased to over $11,000. That is the kind of meaningful action that would directly help affordability. It would put more money back into the pockets of the people who need it most, at the exact moment they need it. It would stimulate the market from the bottom up instead of crushing it down from top down. TRREB has formally urged their city council to reject hiking this tax and instead use any available funds to increase the first-time buyer home rebate. It's logical, it's compassionate, and it's economically sound. But so far, that call has been completely ignored as the city just approved the tax hikes. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about the future of Toronto. It's about whether this will be a city where the people can build a life and own a home, or it will become a playground reserved for the ultra-rich. This policy of taxing housing transactions into oblivion is pushing everyone towards the latter. This is a critical moment, and the city council needs to hear that this path is a dead end. Share this video, talk about it. What do you think? Is this a fair tax, or is this a short-sighted cash grab that's going to backfire on all of us? Let me know in the comments below. And if you are thinking of buying or selling in the GTA, give me a call at 416-845-9872. And if you want to stay ahead of these market shaking changes, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because in this market, what you don't know will absolutely cost you. This isn't a policy mistake. It's a bet against the dream of home ownership in Toronto. And in a fragile market like this is a bet that everyone, buyers, sellers, and eventually the City Hall itself is going to lose. Thank you for watching. Until next time, see you soon.